people that never visited Paraguay, they told us, oh, they're gonna kill you there.
You'll die. You'll
die. In the middle of the central square of Montevideo, like the guy was getting robbed at 10 o'clock in the evening, robbed and beaten.
So the factors that drew you out of Uruguay were, did it feel
Primarily
safe?
money. Here, let's say we pay maybe 30 to 40% less. I looked for German bilingual, so the program is very, very strict.
But in what way? Like a lot of homework or?
It's a lot of rules. Everything is based on points. You wear socks of a wrong color, points minus. You are late 1 minute to school, the gate is closed, they take you to the director.
No.
You write essay why you are late. It's very strict. And they told me, don't worry. So they never repeat in this school. We just kick them out of school. But then I said, I won't survive another year like this. I found the School of Israel. Half of the program is in English. It's a very light program. Their kids can write to each other in WhatsApp group. Today, let's not go to school because they have some boring subject. I was shocked.
Welcome to the studio. Thank you so much for coming. You guys been living around in several countries before coming to Paraguay.
Yes.
What were your expectations?
Well, before Paraguay, we lived 2 years in Uruguay. And in Uruguay, it was, quite different. But before coming to Latin America, actually, we thought we were hesitant between Uruguay and Paraguay, where we would go. But then we said, like, okay, I looked a little bit at two countries. Then we said, okay, Uruguay has ocean. And as we were coming from Switzerland, we were told that Uruguay is quite expensive. I looked a little bit at the prices, but they told us that. I thought, how expensive can it be compared to Switzerland? Switzerland is the most expensive. So we said, okay, let's go try, and see what it is. And let's see, there is ocean at least, so it should be nice. So we went there. On arrival, it was very nice. We were still hesitant to go to Paraguay or not. But the people told us that, people that never visited Paraguay, they told us, oh, they're going to kill you there. They're going to rob you and they're going to, I don't know.
Like you'll die. You'll
die. It's crime. People live only in closed communities. There's fenced,
gated
communities with people standing with rifles, and you cannot get in without permission because the situation is like that. Okay, so these were people who never been to Paraguay. They were telling us such things. We said, okay, that's it. Let's stay in Uruguay. That was a big adventure for me because I thought I will never come to Latin America because I thought there is only narco traffic here, and which there is, but I thought like everybody is drug addict and, there is crime. It's, what we have this movies, Narcos, I thought it's like everywhere like this. So I thought it's okay, we never go to Latin America. When it came to that, already in Uruguay, it was a big move. I said, oh, okay, look, nobody's killing anybody so bluntly, at least, like you don't see it. So that was already a big move. And then we stayed 2 years in Uruguay. First year was wonderful because I still had contract with Switzerland. So on Swiss money, you can live quite all right in Uruguay. But then I finished my contract in Switzerland and, only from income of my husband, that became a little bit tight because the prices are just, the budget is the same like in Switzerland nearly, I would say. I wouldn't say that we are this, we were spending lots of money buying goods because you actually in Uruguay, you cannot buy a lot of stuff. They don't import foreign goods. I think they tax 60% and the prices go exceedingly high, so nobody is buying it.
How much did you need as a family of three to get by?
Around $6,000-7,000 for three of us.
Okay,
yes. Initially, considering my daughter went to school, that cost per month $1,000, let's say. But then we changed to another school. I wasn't happy with that school at all. We changed to another school, which was much better, and that was $300, which is price similar what you pay in Paraguay. Okay, right. So prices for schools, I would say comparable. You can find all sorts. Okay, there are also public schools, free. Can register yourself and they can go free, but public school is completely zero education. Private, you might hope, she gets something. In our case, I didn't care so much about education at the time in terms of knowledge, because she was still in primary school. So primary is not that difficult, I mean, not so sophisticated. And anyway, for us, it was good that she learned Spanish, Castellano, they call it. So it was already, for us, it was good enough, that she would learn with full immersion, which she did, and fine, But then we were short on budget. She finished primary. She needs to move into more serious school. And then our friends heard a lot about Paraguay from people who actually lived there. They moved from Uruguay. They went to Paraguay also because of shortage of money. Everybody is finishing money in Uruguay very fast. And they end up moving to Paraguay. Even Uruguayans themselves. They already recommended, Paraguay, so on. We heard a lot of good things. And then they went, it's our friends, they went to explore a little bit, how is Paraguay. They came for a week. They said it's all good. Nobody's killing anybody. It's quite safe. You can work on the street. No, you can walk the street normally any time of the day. Depends on the area, of course, but, normally they felt very free, very calm, like you don't have a sense that somebody's following you. And at the same time in Uruguay, plus the situation was becoming worse and worse. I'm not even talking about Montevideo. Montevideo is no go. We lived in Punta del Este, and even there already, they entered a lot of houses. It was a normal thing in any area.
Like robberies?
Robberies, yes. They would rob the house. It was a normal thing in any area. They would rob the house, so you are not protected anywhere. On the street also, the crime increased. Like you can see it. You can see people following you. You can hear from the, conversation how bad it is, that they steal, even coffee from your hand, when you walk on the street. This is in Montevideo I'm talking, but in Maldonado, which is near Punta, also you could feel, they would rob the bike of people very frequently. Like the situation was becoming bad.
But why do you think it is? Is because it's so expensive for them to survive that they are forced to rob people, or is it just
for different reasons also? I think, well, yes. I mean, Uruguayans are very hardworking. In order to survive, they all do 2-3 jobs for sure. For sure, they have some small businesses, like this. Otherwise, you just can't survive, But you can do the business quite easy in the country. You can open, I don't know, bake something here, repair something there. You can easy. But you need to work really a lot, So they really work a lot. But of course, you have, criminal elements. Plus, I heard that there is a port in Montevideo. American, what you call it, drug authority, they withdrew from Montevideo. They transferred themselves to Colombia. So they left Uruguay open to narco trafficking, and they started from this port sending a lot of drugs. This is what I heard, but usually you hear these rumors when you are in the country, like they don't publicize it so much. And obviously when drugs come, then criminality also comes. There is a cross through the border from the Brazil side started to increase. A very small country, what kind of protection they can provide? They cannot. I don't know what kind of army they have, what kind of police. It's not very, they're very like Pacific. They think themselves that they're already this developed country, and I think this lowers their guard. While in Paraguay, they are alerted, they're concentrated because there was crime. They were fighting it, and you can see everywhere police. You can see guards in every bank for sure, and I mean they're all armed. And you can see that they're serious about it. They don't bring it for decoration. If something happens, they can use it. You can see this motorcyclists, they travel on two people, one is driving, another can shoot if they see the robbery, so it's all allowed. And this keeps people under control, I guess, here. So I feel much, much safer incomparably. I mean, we even stopped going to Montevideo in Uruguay because it's just dark. There are no lamps there, and there are strange people everywhere. So it's very dangerous.
Did you have any issues personally, or was it just the general, I guess, feeling of,
we witnessed robbery as well, in the first days when we arrived, right in the middle, this Playa de la Independencia, in the middle, the central square of Montevideo, like the guy was getting robbed at 10 o'clock in the evening. Yeah, you can see it, but that was luckily the only time we witnessed. But we saw people being robbed. One guy from whom they robbed the bike, my husband saw him, and he helped him to transfer some money from Brazil because he was Brazilian. He got robbed and beaten. There is violence. You can hear it, you can feel it, people following you sometimes, We packed and we left, to Paraguay. It was quite an easy move. It's Mercosur, you don't need anything.
So the factors that drew you out of Uruguay were primarily safety issues that
No,
you didn't feel
primarily
safe?
money. Primarily money. Yes,
money, right?
yes. First money, because it's way it's double. Okay, maybe not double, but here let's say we pay maybe 30 to 40% less. So we only regret that we didn't move here immediately, that we had this 2 years of Uruguay. We could have saved a lot of money. Definitely there would be enough money to buy apartment here with the money that we could have saved, for example, a good apartment.
Yeah. From where you came from, like the whole information that you've seen online or people telling you that South America is so not safe, I guess Uruguay seemed the more safer option at the time than Paraguay to start with.
Yeah, because purely because of the rumors,
Right.
I didn't bother, unfortunately, to check from statistical point of view before moving to Paraguay. Then I compared. Uruguay is 11 murders per 100,000. Paraguay is 7. So already statistically, it's much better. Even then, it's not distributed. But within the country, it's not evenly distributed. There are safer towns, places, areas, and not safer ones. But even in general, statistically, Uruguay is worse than Paraguay. The crime rate increased, so they had 9 when we were coming in 2023, I think. Then it increased to 11, while in Paraguay it's 7. So already that, I should have maybe considered it first, before making these decisions. But of course, Uruguay is very attractive because there is ocean. And in the first year, it was wonderful because you have the beach for kilometers. There is nothing, just, sand and sea. And there is so much space that it never gets crowded. Only in Punta del Este, which is considered to be the top resort of Latin America, a lot of people go there, like talk to each other and so on, to hang out, So there it's quite crowded during summer, very, very expensive, yes. The weather is not good in Uruguay. The weather is, the summer is only 2-3 months when you can go to swim. And even then, it's ocean. So you have very strong currents. There is even monument with the hand in Punta del Este that shows that, there's a danger of sinking because many people don't know, but quite close to the shore, there is a current and it's very easy to get drawn away and many people die. So you don't feel safe.
A quick aside. Most people who move abroad assume that their home country health insurance will cover them wherever they go, or that they'll eventually figure it out once they, worst case scenario, right, break their legs on a skiing trip or get stung by an nasty sea creature on their holiday. Which is why for the past few years, every time I cross the border, I make sure that my safety wing is active before I land. Safety wing is a global medical and travel coverage built specifically for nomads and remote workers. It covers you in over 180 countries for as little as $63 a month. It works like a subscription, so you can cancel anytime you want to, and there's no paperwork nightmare, and you can buy it even if you're already abroad. It covers emergency medical treatment, hospital stays, evacuation, travel delays, and lost luggage as well. They also have a complete plan which adds zero deductible, dental, mental health, and preventive care too. Right now you can get started straight away by going to the link in the description below. Check it out.
In the ocean, you have lots of jellyfish coming often. I mean, I don't like it. It's from one side, like to walk, it's very nice because you see the sea lions, they just come out, this wildlife is crazy. They just come out, and even my dog was playing with a small sea lion, there on the beach. Penguins sometimes come because they flow from Argentina, some migration route or something like that they're doing, and some get lost and they are swimming to the shore. They are rescued afterwards. There's a small rescue center. So that's quite cute. You see penguins, you see the sea lions, Okay, 1 year is fine, you enjoy this empty beach, but after 1 year, honestly, we lived not so far from the sea and we didn't go there because 9 months of the year it's wind, it's cold, around 15 to 17 degrees outside, mainly. Sometimes you have like few weeks of 25 degrees, but mainly it's 15, 17 degrees. Inside, it's also 15 degrees because inside the house, because they don't use heating. There is no heating system, obviously. And the air conditioner, you think twice when you want to switch it on, because the electricity, at least you pay $200 if you live in a house. They're always wearing many layers. There is like it's normal to get ear infection because of the wind. But in Paraguay, on the contrary, there are 3 months of incredibly hot summer, but you don't have problem, because if you are indoor, you can switch on air conditioner.
Yeah, and I guess the electricity is so like affordable that you
Yes.
don't mind
don't
use
mind?
heating even
Yeah.
during the colder days as well. So
I mean, like in our apartment, we don't switch on off air conditioner. We just maintain the temperature that is good for us. If it's a bit cold, we don't mind switching on the heating. If it's warm, it works all day, 24-hour aircon. Nobody thinks about it, and we pay $70. Who cares? And if you watch a little bit after the use of electricity, then you can easily pay 40, 50. Maybe now it's a little bit higher, I don't know, because there was some inflation. But roughly the prices are this. I mean, it's incomparable,
Yeah, compared to 200 in Uruguay, for
compared
sure.
to
Big
Uruguay.
difference.
Yes.
And then when it comes to the aspect of your daughter, right? Like when it comes to the school system, how was the transition like?
Well, it's not it's not the first time we're changing schools, because she started school actually in Qatar. We lived in Qatar. Then she did school she started then school in Vienna, because we lived in Vienna for 2 years. Then we moved to Switzerland, so to the German part. So that was also, it was a bit of a deviation for Corona with another school, but never mind. Mainly it was like a German part. So in Vienna is German, in Switzerland is German. So I think around 5 years she started. 5 years she did the school in German. She didn't mind the move, because she's, with all these moves, she's already open to adventure, and that's a bit her character. So in our case, she was quite looking forward to new adventures, because on the picture, of course, I presented her the school that we have robotics, and
You run the ads.
It's not difficult at that age to make a child interested. You don't need much. Yeah, the reality then turned out to be different. So when we moved, she went to this school. It's in English, so she's English speaker because of the father. Our family speaks in English at home, so for her, English was not a problem. The school is English-speaking school in Uruguay. And so she was quite happy, because she would feel very free in English. And that school had a wonderful marketing, presenting that they have all these different courses and extra activities and so on. But then when she moved there, somehow she couldn't adjust with the kids, because in a strange way, compared to Europe, the kids here are much more friendlier, and that is very surprising and suspicious for children. How can it be? In Europe, you have, like in Austria mainly, you have a lot of bullying, at school, and here there is no bullying. So kids are already coming from Europe. They're used to be like, even I don't know, Russian kids, they're used to be already like alerted, why he's asking me questions? He wants something, it's not good, So it took her half a year to realize that she needs to relax, that kids are asking her questions just because they want to know more about her and so on. But by the time of this transition period, kids also here, they got scared of her, because she's like, she's all the time alerted, not very friendly to them. And she didn't make friends in the beginning. Plus, school was quite expensive, but we started already looking at the budget compared to all other prices, we had to cut a little bit. And I looked for another school, the local, so I found a cheaper school, private. She went there, but by that time she already relaxed. She knew that kids don't want to bully her, don't want to fight her, that they're just friendly, they just want to be friends. She became more relaxed. She was already looking forward to make friends. Obviously, she connected immediately. And that's it. And since then, she was like feeling great in that school.
And this was still in Uruguay?
In Uruguay, right. 1.5 years. She followed in Uruguay in that school. She was feeling great. But I mean, the teachers are very, like, it's a family atmosphere. So the attitude here in primary, I would highly recommend to bring kids to Latin America because it's a completely different attitude. It's very warm, you know. They can hug teachers. It's not like in Europe that they're forbidden to touch, you know, the kids. Here they still hug, the teachers. They call them corazon, you know, my heart, my love, you know. They talk with kids only this way, you know, in a very warm way. And it gives to kids like they're in a family, you know, like it's a continuation of a family at school. They care, you know, they care a lot, and they're very warm. So psychologically, it relaxes a lot all children. You know, I've seen it not only with my daughter, but with Russian children, you know, who that arrived there, they relaxed. They became more communicative, more these soft skills they developed much better. But of course, education is barely zero, you know. I mean, it's fun, it's warm, you know, but education for her, as I said, it was great because she learned the language. That was the goal. She learned it by full immersion, obviously, in that age.
And I
We
guess the
don't-
culture as well, to adapt to
Yeah.
that kind of culture, as you said.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it was great, you know. But then as she moved to secondary, you know, we have to look already at it should be something serious. So when we moved to Paraguay, I looked for school. I found the Deutsche Schule, given that she studied in, you know, in German. Then when we arrived to Asunción, she did exams, entrance exams. Okay, so she entered and she started studying. But they told me actually it's Deutsche Schule, but it's Deutsche Schule in German only until secondary. So during primary years, it's in German. The language of education is German. And the secondary, it's only Castellano.
Oh boy.
But with some hours of German, you know.
Right.
Okay, I said, fine, you know, well, then she still was, I mean, 1.5 years of Spanish was still, you know, you still need, it's not enough, you know, so for a good level, for us, it doesn't matter. German is not our language, Spanish is not our language, so she will improve then, she will concentrate on Spanish. That was not a problem. And meanwhile, she would, you know, speak a little bit with kids or had some lessons in German, so that was a good level.
And there was no English school, like no British school or something like that.
So there is American school here, but it costs $3,000 a month.
Right.
You know, so even if I looked, I think it would not be accessible. There is English school by the Anglican Church, St. Andrews. I don't know the price there, but I don't think it should be. Maybe it should be something around $700. I think I heard like that. There are a few schools in English, but somehow for us, like I said, okay, she will finish. Given that English is her native language, she will finish the school last years in English. But until then, I wanted her to learn as many languages as possible,
Right.
you know, because for kids, it's much easier to learn languages. I looked for, I thought German, bilingual, you know, school, but it turned out to be okay, kind of, yeah, in Castellano, but with some German. But the school, it was a complete contrast. I mean, it is so strict. Only after half a year, I realized that it's actually a Mennonite school, you know. I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know who Mennonites are, organized by school. It was everything dedicated to Mennonites. I'm like, why are you talking about Mennonites, you know? I'm like, well, we are Mennonites. Okay. So this is quite a religious community. I thought Mennonites are like Amish, they're wearing traditional clothes. Yes, there are many in the
Chaco.
in Chacos, yes, in the provinces, but in Asunción they are dressed normal, like us, modern, and but they're Mennonites by religion, so they have their own church. I think it's kind of like evangelical, something like that.
In other news, Global Citizen Solutions has helped hundreds of families across more than 50 countries to secure second residency and citizenship by investment. When it comes to navigating golden visa programs correctly, they are the best in class, which is why I have partnered with them. They work across 26 plus programs such as Portugal or Greece, Italy, Malta, the UAE, or the Caribbean, for instance, with investment thresholds starting from 200,000 euros, depending on the route. And unlike most firms in this space, they give you one dedicated point of contact, transparent fees with no hidden costs, and they handle everything from eligibility to biometrics all the way to permit collection as well. They've been doing this since 2017. They are an authorized representative of multiple government citizenship units, and their track record speaks for itself. So get the expert guidance you need with Global Citizen Solutions right now. You can book a free consultation by going to the link in the description below. Check it out.
and they have some hours of religion, a lot of religion at school, which wasn't for me anything surprising, because Paraguay is a very religious country. It's Catholic, and but there are also other religions here, and it's normal here to introduce religion in schools. Some are more religious, some are led by monks even. Some schools are for girls only, for boys only, segregation. And to have religious hours, it's a normal thing. So I didn't think much about it, because kids are, you won't see any difference in kids, that in the religious school or less religious, you don't see any difference. They're kids, it's not like they go around praying, dress something. No, they're normal, and with their jokes and what they do, it's the same thing. But it was nice to see, that it's also a good aspect, I think, to put this religion on them. It wasn't too much, so it wasn't something extreme, just a few hours of religion. But what was the biggest contrast is that the school is very strict, not in terms of religion, but because of the study. Because they are Mennonites, but Mennonites are originally from Germany, so they are Germans. They look like Germans, and they have the German attitude to studying. The program is very, very strict. We had no clue.
But in what way? Like a lot of homework, or it's like over-structured, or?
Yes, it's a lot of rules. Rules, by the rule, you need to give your homework within time. If you don't, they take out these points. Everything is based on points. You wear socks of a wrong color, points minus. You are late 1 minute to school, the gate is closed, they take you to the director.
No.
You write essay
why
you're late. It's very strict. And I had no clue about points. They didn't alert us, because it's a Paraguayan system with these points. There is Ministry of Education, they have curriculum, and they distribute it to all schools. All schools, Mennonite, non-Mennonite, American, I don't know, they have to comply with this curriculum. In addition, they can do whatever they want, but they have to comply with this curriculum. This curriculum prescribes that twice a year they need to hold these exams. These exams are written in a certain way. You collect the points, plus the school can establish its own system for point collection, and it's everywhere like this with those points. Mennonite school takes it very seriously, and they establish that this percentage of points is based on how on time you give back your homework, this percentage of point that you do not miss school, this percentage of point your behavior, and exams have the biggest percentage, likely 60%, I don't know, of all the points. But I didn't know about everything all this point system. They didn't alert me, because we are the only foreigners in school, and they thought that we're supposed to know, because all Paraguay is like this. But we don't come from Paraguay.
Of course,
we come from outside.
But that means that, like, if I go to school with, I don't know, red socks too often, and I get points deducted, right? Like, I like, it affects my point average, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, that affects whether I finish school successfully or not. Like, it affects my grade.
Yes. And
It's crazy.
It's not red socks. It's if you wear blue socks, but uniform says black socks. This difference. I mean, it's slight one. Red is like, probably they
not
call
the right
me.
shade.
Probably they call me, to withdraw. No, they told me in the beginning of school. I said, okay, my only concern that she doesn't repeat the year, because she already repeated once the first grade, that she shouldn't be behind. I want her to be with the same age students. And they told me, don't worry, they never repeat in the school. So I relaxed, they don't repeat. And then when in the first semester she received like twos, many twos, I said, oh, it's alarming. What if, but you said she will pass anyway to the next year. Doesn't matter if she has two or not. I said, well, yeah, she won't stay for another year. We just kick them out of school.
Whoa,
Nobody says if they have one, then even if one, then we kick them out of school.
God damn it.
Then she comes like at the end of, but don't worry, you still have another year. So it's a combination. The problem, they try to be strict, but it's still disorganized, because it's Latin America. It's disorganized. For example, I tell them, look, I help her to study for the test, but she needs to know exactly what to study, because during the lessons, she doesn't listen. She needs to study from the books. Often she doesn't understand because a bit Paraguayan accent, some teachers, she doesn't get it. If she doesn't get it completely, she flies away, and that's it. So we need to study from books, and we have external help teachers, okay? You need to tell us exactly what to study. Like, yeah. They give some topics, not on time, I need to run after them. They might give those topics one day before the exam. How do you prepare for it?
Wow.
So this kind of like, it's disorganized still. It's Latin America, and this is the best organization you can have is this Mennonite school. But on the other hand, it was good. It was like a cold shower. At the end of the year, she got a lot of ones, and I said, oh my God, she needs to pass the grade. By that time I said, okay, we have to move to another school because it's impossible. But we had to finish here. So for 2 or 3 weeks of the exams, like whole country sits in that time to write those exams, all the classes. And in that period, we had to really study from day and night for these exams. I already looked for special methods, how to learn by association, doing mind maps. So I studied different techniques, how to help her to study. We learned together how is better to learning to learn, studying the efficient way. Luckily, we have like tools you can, with translate, you can now, make a photo. It will translate you. Yeah, without that, we wouldn't survive. Then this we would put to ChatGPT. ChatGPT would make a mind map, would do the explanation in English. She would read the explanation in English or listen to it because in plus she's dyslexic, a little bit. So on top of that, she cannot read a lot, she can't read a lot. And but we have all these tools. So we used all these tools. I looked at different methods, how to study and so on. So we passed with the average 3, no ones. Okay, so that was fine. But then I said I won't survive because another year like this, because I said, okay, it seems that I graduated from school. It was as hard,
Yeah.
we were completely exhausted. I said, okay, we can't continue like this. I don't understand, because they're still disorganized. We need something easier. And I found the School of Israel, which has half of the program is in English. Maybe not half, but some subjects like science is in English. English, what else? Math and history in Castellano. So from the important subjects, let's say half are in English. So that was making life much easier. And she went there. It's considered to be a good school, a good education level, concentrated on commerce, which I liked a lot. Jewish school, so concentrated on commerce. It's not only for Jewish, only like 20% they say there are Jewish kids, and other 80 is Paraguayan, because there is very small Jewish community here. It was a good solution at the time, but this school is okay, concentrated on commerce. Yes, in higher grades, because our friend studies there. So it's concentrated more on commerce in the high grades. But before that, it's quite easy. The contrast is vast. It's very light program. You need some discipline with children. Their kids, they can write to each other in WhatsApp group, today let's not go to school because they have some boring subject today.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow,
they
that's like the
all agree
complete
not to go.
opposite.
Yeah. That when I was shocked after Mennonite school to hear that. I said, "How don't you take off points for that? I'm already in point system." They're like, "Yeah, but here nobody cares. It's more loose." So for the higher grades, it's a good school, but for lower grades, it's not very good level of math. At least she has good grades, because in Mennonite school she was just very, very low grades. But here, at least she got this self-insurance. There it was before, like, no matter how much she studies, she will still get 2 or 3
Yeah,
maximum.
that's a horrible feeling.
It's
like when you do your
frustrating.
best, like your
Yes.
complete best, and
Yeah.
I still, yeah.
It's
yeah,
just
that's
different questions that she didn't expect or something, But in that school, in this school now, she gets only like very high grades, but it's not challenging enough. So where to find this golden
Yeah.
middle,
Homeschooling is not really an option here, or how-
Homeschooling, no, because she needs to communicate with children. It's very important for a child to go to school, mostly to communicate. They need to grow socially. And I don't believe it's enough to go to some clubs sometimes. maybe if a family has many children, and, 4 or 5, I don't know, and they structure these lessons, they communicate with each other, it's very structured. But we cannot, we work, I cannot teach, my husband cannot teach. You need to have some, also some calling for teaching. We are not teachers,
How do you think your experience compares to people that come here like solo? Like because I guess like most people that come here are like either digital nomads or working online, or I guess they are more flexible. Like coming over with the whole family, I reckon it must be very different.
Yes, probably, because I don't communicate. My husband will give you more input to you on this, because he communicates more with these nomads, because they are men mostly. I think 95%. What I've seen, I haven't seen any with family. So they come there without families. So I don't know. I really don't communicate with anybody here. I only have this Russian family with whom I communicate, and to see the problem. So we have very similar problems in relation to the schools. Other families, I don't think there are so many expat families here as family moving to Paraguay. In Uruguay, yes, they were all whom I knew, they were families. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe I just didn't get around to know here. But also what I see in all the schools, we're the only ones foreigners, either me or the kids of this family, we're the only ones. Apparently, families do not travel to Paraguay for some reason. Before coming, I heard it's difficult to find a place here at school, which is not true, because now I helped this Russian friends to look for schools here in this area. We just went to 3. There are places, please come. Yes. They don't know how to integrate with the language, a child, that's for sure. So you cannot expect that. It's not Germany, where they have it like in German speaking countries, they have it already because of immigration. They have it very organized. It's not a problem. Here, no support whatsoever. But when children come, when they're again in primary, no problem. They can integrate. They don't need, when it's primary, they don't need. Like in Uruguay, teachers were very worried. They're like, oh, how are we gonna speak with her? She spoke within 3 weeks. It's not a problem for a child. Doesn't matter if she has skills or not skills for languages, doesn't matter. They will speak. 3-4 weeks they will start, and the program is not challenging. You don't need much. What do they study in math? What? Nothing. So it doesn't matter. But in secondary school, it might be better to come with some level of Spanish for children, for sure, when they go to secondary school. This is what I've seen from families in Uruguay, because they came maybe with older children and they put them already into secondary school. So in order to catch up, they had to study in parallel, or they were continuing online to receive diploma in their countries. Like in Russia, for example, they would wake up, I don't know, crazy hours, 5 in the morning, because it's afternoon in Russia. They would have to go through the school online and to receive the diploma like this. So this can be two options. And they go to local school just for the language. Just we don't care, the grades, because they will have diploma from their country. So that's another solution. They finish to school.
So the main barrier for families, in your opinion, is the language, like the fact that they might not be good Spanish speakers, so they
for
don't.
integration of children into secondary schools. Again, I would say secondary school, that could be a problem. In the primary, it's not a problem. You can come without Spanish, but secondary, better that they already have some Spanish.
And when it comes to the integration to Paraguay, like how did it go for you?
For me, integration.
For you as parents, I guess. Well, like Stuart is not here, but I'll ask him eventually. But
integration. I already spoke Spanish, because I didn't study Spanish, but we had to speak it in Uruguay, because again, nobody speaks English in Uruguay. So, but I knew Italian, so it's very similar. And somehow I shifted from Italian into Spanish quite easily. First, I was speaking to them in Italian. They would respond to me. Then I would register the words that are different, similar but different. And that's how it evolved, into Spanish. So when I came to Paraguay, that was not a problem for me already to communicate in a daily language. That's not a problem. It was around. with people in the shops and so on. But with, let's say, with mothers, when I had to have a deeper conversation, of course, that was already a challenge. But they're very friendly, but again, they all work, so nobody has really a lot of time. Because it was a Mennonite school, Mennonites, they have a lot of kids. So they're very, very busy with children. They always run around, and people, there are different levels of people here. So if you go to private school, it's a level of people that not only put children at school, but they for sure they will give them extra activities. And if there are two kids, there are really weird hours here. One can finish at 12, another finishes at 3, and they all run around. In between, they have to work. So they're always continuously busy. And on weekend, many go to visit their relatives inside the country because they're very family oriented, and they spend a lot of time with families, and their families are very big. I don't communicate much with them in the free time. Sometimes we go out, but I cannot say that I have friends. For me, it's not a problem. I don't mind, I don't need communication much. For me, it's not a problem at all.
You're not that type of person that needs like a huge friend circle or something.
Yes, I don't. But who needs can find. Like my husband, he needs a circle. He found himself a circle. That's not the problem. There are a lot of expats here. Men, I don't know about women, but there are some gatherings, but I'm not interested. In terms of integration, speaking, yes, I spoke language, so I integrated quite fast. Of course, speaking with people. So yeah, of course, you need language because they don't speak English. They don't speak other language. They speak Spanish, but they're very open, they're very friendly, and you learn it quite fast. I think if you put a bit of an effort in it, there is plenty of practice that you can have. That's for sure.
Yeah, plenty of opportunities to speak Spanish here for sure, because you're, I guess, forced to do it.
Yes, you're forced to do it.
And when it comes to the cultural differences, were there some things about Paraguay or about the Paraguayans that kind of surprised you or made it well, I wouldn't call it culture shock, but I'm sure there are many differences.
I mean, it's the first country where I think we're here 1.5 years, and I didn't have a single experience where somebody was rude to me or somebody was dangerous to me. Everybody's polite. Somebody was dishonest with me. I never felt it. It's a surprise. Maybe it's still to come, but in 1.5 years, it's unbelievable, living in a country where you had no negative experience with people. Strange. It's really strange. Really strange. So I can only say, honestly, only positive things. Absolutely nothing negative. They are, if we compare to Uruguayans, for example, Uruguayans are also, for us, they're all, Latin America, for us, they're one big, group of people, between themselves. Of course, they distinguish like us Europeans between ourselves, for us, to generalize. But then if we go in general, of course, they're all communicative, warm. This doesn't change between Uruguay and Paraguay, but in Uruguay, somehow the life is so hard because of these prices that what people only think when they look at you is can I get some money? Can we do something together? Can you buy something of me? You can read it, and it's just getting worse and worse. They try to be nice, but it's in a very commercial way. When you live there a little bit, you understand that all they want is that, Of course, there are exceptions, and I have friends there because somehow there I communicated more with parents. Many speak English, quite few speak English, so that makes it completely different. When they can speak English, then we bond and we communicated, and that was different. So there I made friends. On the other hand, those that didn't want money of me. Yeah. Here I didn't make friends because nobody speaks English. Yeah, practically. But people seem like I suppose they should be theoretically poorer because lower salaries, but also the prices are much lower. And people, they also work a lot, but they don't seem to be so money oriented. Yes, so much, They seem to be more relaxed. Many times I offered some extra money and they refused, some tip or something, and they just refused when they give you some when they do something good for you, they're also religious. There is religious aspect in their head. So many they really want to do good for religious purposes, women and men, which is for us, we're used to women being more religious. Here men are also very religious.
More so than in Uruguay.
Uruguay, no religion.
No religion.
They don't even celebrate Easter.
Interesting.
Like
okay, that's interesting.
It's
so near.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how they call it. They have, I think, the explanation for it, that we want to be like completely non-religious society, nothing linked to religion. So to the point that you don't celebrate even Easter. There is no Orthodox church. For example, I go to Orthodox church. There is here Orthodox church. There they closed it. Okay, it's a small country, I understand as well.
Do you think maybe that's also a factor why people there are more like money oriented? That like relationships turn into more of a financial transaction because they don't
I suppose there must be aspect, because here, if a person is religious, they are ready to do good for you because they believe that it's good in front of God, so they get their benefit from that, the satisfaction of their wishes, fulfillment from doing something good purely because of pleasing God, While if you don't have this component in like in Uruguay,
why should you be nice?
Why should you be nice? It's only for my, but yeah, I mean, it's exaggeration. At the end of the day, they are nice, but not as nice as in Paraguay. Not they have a limit, Plus, they're a bit in Uruguay. They're more of Italian, Spanish descent. So they told me, and so they're like even physically very blonde, quite blonde, much lighter people, like Europeans. You won't distinguish Europeans. They're colder, a little bit colder. Paraguayans are warmer, but not in a crazy way. This is what I liked. They're somehow
not like Brazilians.
Yeah, they're more moderate. Somehow it was a surprise. They're like very not withdrawn. Like Uruguayans maybe withdrawn a bit, but Paraguayans are warm, but somehow, how can I say, not really polite, but they communicate in a way that is, they don't try to interfere with your affairs. They don't impose any advice on you. They don't want to. They know there is a distance, like in a good way. They respect your boundaries a lot. I feel it like that.
Yeah. Well, as the last question, I would like to ask you, like, what would you tell to people, specifically parents, that are maybe in the process of considering to move with their kids together to Paraguay or to Uruguay, or basically, well, abroad in general, I guess specifically those two countries? What would you give them as advice?
Well, the conclusion that we arrived is, learning the language, of course, beforehand. For little ones, it's not so important, but
until primary, like primary school.
Yeah, primary school is completely fine. Yeah, and secondary, yeah, I would recommend to learn the language, not to bother if you don't find school not to try to organize everything from abroad. You arrive and then it will be much easier here on the spot, because many things, if you try from abroad, they might not answer. They're not interested, because they know, like, okay, you write and they don't come, and like, who cares, it's impossible to organize these things. But on the spot, it's very easy. Okay, this school, they don't have place, you go to another one. Yes, take the next day, she's sitting at the desk already. So it's done like immediately, on the spot. So don't try to organize from outside. That would be my recommendation. It's quite easy when you arrive here.
You gave the example with the point system, that you weren't aware of it, or certain, or the Mennonites, right? Like how can you maybe minimize those surprises and prepare, I guess, for that transition? Like, where to look for it?
Well, learning from my experience, it would be a good approach when the child enters the school, to go to speak with directors exactly about what is your system. In Paraguay, it was eye opener. We still were on time to sort out these problems, but it would have been much easier. It would have saved us a lot of hassle, and maybe the grades would have been better if I knew beforehand that I need to pay attention to these things, because it's much stricter.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia, for the episode.
You're very welcome. I hope I can help somebody with this conversation. So Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. We have reached the end. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you want the best tools out there when it comes to living abroad, be it traveling or actually settling down in a specific country, we have put together a free living abroad toolbox with all the services you need, from banking all the way to eSIMs, to make your life abroad much less stressful and chaotic the way it should be. Also, if you like the content that we are doing on this channel, please consider subscribing, hit the bell icon, hit the like button if you like what you've seen. And if you want to check out our next episode, you can go right here. So check it out.